Let's talk to the voice of the creative economy, Vincent Heeringa from idealogue.co.nz. Good morning to you, Vincent.
Good morning. Well, that was a great song, wasn't it?
Really great song. This morning we're looking at the question, or looking at the outlook for New Zealand. Is the outlook for New Zealand fine?
Oh, the weather's looking good.
Yeah, the weather's. We've got a summer, we've got a long, hot summer, according to NIWA, ahead of us. But economically, how are we looking?
Economically, less good.
Ow.
So it was the hottest year on record. 2011 was almost as... I think I just saw a report that 2011 will be the hottest year on record.
For the world?
For the world. Since recordings have begun. You know. So it's pretty hot. But unfortunately, economically, it's not going to be so. And at the same time as having massive strikes and government cutbacks and a great anxiety in Europe, New Zealand is also facing some tough economic times ahead. So we thought that we were out of the out of the growth, out of the difficult part, Wemo, but it looks like it's going to be another tough year ahead.
Because a year ago we were talking quite optimistically, weren't we, about 2011?
Well, we felt like, I suppose, optimistic because in 2009, 2010, we'd really felt like we were at the bottom of the barrel in terms of recession and unemployment. And as a business person, I felt incredibly down about the future. This year has been better, and so by comparison, you feel like you're doing okay. But actually, the growth is still pretty slight. And the Institute for Economic Research have kind of downgraded their expectation for the future ahead, primarily based on the chaos that's occurring in Europe. There's going to be less money around, less demand for products and services, and less confidence, and confidence is such an important thing.
Yeah. And just talking about, say, Europe at the moment, today, right now, 2 million public sector workers are out on strike in the UK, or in England at least.
It's massive, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's massive, and what they're striking about is a very difficult conundrum. The government is trying to reduce the pension structure so that you have to work longer and get paid less, which is not part of the social contract. We expected to, when we participate in the tax scheme, we expect to get our money back through health and education and pensions. And quite rightly, a lot of people are saying, look, it wasn't our fault that the banking system fell on its own sword. But also, that's the reality. That's the reality that the British government is going to deal with. And I completely understand the conundrum. It's very difficult.
Yeah. So quite an influential economist gave a speech yesterday about the future of New Zealand.
Yes, there's a man called Michael Enright who, many years ago, over a decade ago, came to New Zealand with another one of his colleagues called Michael Porter, and they wrote a book about New Zealand's competitive advantage, and he has returned to sort of 10 years later do a report on where has New Zealand made it. The book in 91 was called Upgrading New Zealand's Competitive Advantage and was popularly known as the Porter Report. And it kind of set out quite an exciting vision for New Zealand as this highly competitive, productive, cost-effective, high-tech economy with high-tech exports. In many ways, kind of set the agenda for what I would call the knowledge economy.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've been following that agenda as a journalist for many years now. In fact, that would be 20 years ago, wouldn't it? 1991. I'm more of a words man than a numbers man. Anyway, Enright has returned and gave a speech last night about the kind of two futures that face New Zealand. And one is a future where we are Asia-focused, competitive, aggressive, battling to overcome our natural disadvantages. And in that scenario, we work with Asian economies such as China and Japan and Southeast Asia to find export markets and partners. The other scenario is that all those disadvantages play against us: the distance to market, our insular economy, our lack of growth, our lack of capital. And he is kind of throwing the challenge down to us to say, it's kind of up to us to do that. That the government can do so much, but in the end, and that's one of the great lessons I picked up from Israel, Wemo, is that the individuals do make a difference. Individual entrepreneurs, individual companies can have a really profound effect on such a small economy. And so that's the challenge that we've got. Are we going to be outward focused, competitive, aggressive? We're going to jump on those planes and sell our products and services, or are we going to head up to the batch?
Heading up to the batch sounds pretty good.
Well, maybe we could do both, especially this summer.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, so something we can all do. Well, at least those of us who own businesses can.
Those of us who own businesses. Well, and some of us own businesses through shares, Wemo, and I noticed that Comvita, that's the great New Zealand honey company that was started in the 1950s or 60s. They make cosmetics and sort of honey derivatives. There goes another great New Zealand brand that is the takeover target for what's essentially for Cerebus Grex, which is essentially a Singapore-owned company. And there's probably good reason to sell. They're offering a good price at $2.50. It's well above what the shares are trading at. But every week we write and we report on the same story of New Zealand companies being bought by overseas companies. We don't write the reverse. We don't hear about Comvita buying Cerebus Grex. No,
you're right.
And I'm not against foreign direct investment at all. I think it's a great idea, but it needs to go both ways. And the tragedy of New Zealand is that it is a one-way street.
Okay, all right. We'll check out more from Vincent up at idealog.co.nz. His blog is up there, and also tweeting these days as well, twitter.com/V Heeringa. Thanks very much, Vincent.
Thanks, Wemo.